Next on Kval News, exciting news for sports fans tonight. The Eugene-Springfield area will see the return of high school football. We have the details from tonight's board meeting. Plus, brand new tonight, we have the latest developments after a vehicle believed to have slid off a Portland bridge is pulled from the river with a body inside. And the pandemic power couple. Kval has the exclusive interview from Como in Seattle. We meet the wife, the author of Bridgerton, and husband, top infectious diseases expert. Kval News at 11 starts right now.
From the combined newsrooms in Eugene, Roseburg, and Coos Bay, Kval News at 11 starts now.
First at 11, the Friday night lights are officially back on. Tonight in a school board meeting, the 4J and Bethel school districts approved the return of contact football. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dane Wormlinger in for Jacqueline Fernandez. We begin tonight with our Jonathan Acosta, who joins us now at the sports desk. Jonathan, this was a decision that those local schools didn't take lightly. So when did the football games start?
Dane, it was a joint decision tonight. The school districts announced they are opting in to playing 11-on-11 contact football this spring. Exactly 1 week after Governor Kate Brown lifted the ban on contact sports at the high school level, leaving the decision up to individual districts, the 3 neighboring districts chose to play. Because Lane County is in the extreme COVID risk category, it means the schools will have to submit paperwork to the state in order to get approved for playing. But Director of Secondary Education Andy Dye said it won't come without hiccups.
And we have to expect the very real plausibility that there may be someone who contracts COVID-19 on a team and that team is unable to play. That means that there would be potentially 2 teams that, there would be 2 teams that wouldn't be able to play if one has to forfeit a competition. So this will be a very fluid, scheduled season.
It will be a season of local games only, starting on March 4th for junior varsity, March 5th for varsity. Another sport still up in the air, volleyball. Right now, indoor contact sports are still prohibited by the state, so tonight the board focused on football. Dane?
All right, Jonathan, thank you. And a new tentative timeline was also announced at tonight's 4J meeting for students to return to in-person learning. Kindergarten and first grade is planned to start the week of March 15th. Grades 2nd through 5th are planned to start hybrid learning on April 5th. Middle and high school is planned to start hybrid learning April 12th. But this all depends on if there are enough second dose vaccines for teachers and staff.
And in looking at the availability of vaccines that has been possible, if second doses of vaccines are available on that schedule, and if our COVID rates continue to improve, and we're able to provide those second doses and be within the metrics, we could be looking at a return to hybrid instruction on site for the middle and high schools just a tad earlier.
In the last school board meeting, they announced their reopening plans will be aligned with teachers being fully vaccinated. But the inclement weather last weekend delayed delivery for vaccines. Vaccinations will resume Monday, with second doses beginning next Friday. Well, new at 11, it's the most watched original series ever on Netflix. The romance author behind Bridgerton lives right here in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle with her husband, a top infectious diseases expert. Tammy Mutasa from our sister station Como in Seattle has the exclusive story on this pandemic power couple.
All is fair in love and war.
The magic of Bridgerton has captured hearts around the world.
Miss Daphne Bridgerton.
During a very dark time.
The show is resonating with people in a way that I never dreamed.
This is it in The Duke and I in Indonesian.
Julie Pottinger, pen name Julia Quinn, is the best-selling force behind the 8-book Bridgerton series the show is based on.
You don't want to cut it in half?
She calls Seattle home with her husband, Dr. Paul Pottinger. Does he look familiar?
This is such a bright, shining thing.
They're beaming at her blockbuster year, highlighted with their visit to the London set, meeting the cast and crew in the Shondaland adaptation. After all, she wrote the series 20 years ago,
Miss Bridgerton.
never expecting the show's popularity to rocket the books right back to the top of the bestsellers list.
It's crazy. I mean, every day something new seems to happen that's just amazing and unbelievable.
Everyone always asks, who's the Paul she dedicates her books to? Well, that's him.
I love, love, love that. And I don't know what I do to earn it so much.
While Julie specializes in escapism, his specialty is something no one can escape right now.
It's a really good question.
We featured Dr. Pottinger dozens of times on Como News, and I've talked to him as a top expert in the COVID-19 pandemic. He's the director of UW Medicine's Infectious Diseases and Tropical Medicine Clinic, a professor, and a Seattle top doc.
A lot of people's hobbies, connections have been ruined or really, really altered. For me personally, to have nothing but infectious disease in the day and come home at night and to get nothing but Bridgerton, yeah, I'll take it. It's been pretty good.
The pandemic power couple met back in '88 during college, before Julie briefly went to Yale Medical School and dropped out to write full-time. It wasn't love at first sight for Julie.
Some of us fell in love right on the spot, and we've been together ever since.
I held out for a few weeks.
But Dr. Pottinger was straight up smitten and still is.
I have to tell you, when you are married to a best-selling romance novelist, every day is like Valentine's Day.
Oh,
you have to
please.
bring it.
Each is humble about their own success while likely to gush about the others.
Now, her fans, you may not know this, the most loyal fans of readers in the entire world, and she does have a huge global presence.
He's the real hero here. He's out there, fighting COVID every single day and keeping the entire world healthy, or at least Seattle.
And through those highs and the lows, resilience and putting family first is what's keeping the Pottingers going.
I feel weak, overweight, and exhausted, so I don't feel stronger right now. But the relationship between the two of us, I think our whole family is just so tight. We've always been that way.
Yeah.
Having a centered place for me, home, and an amazing family, that's how I've gotten through this.
With their unique blend of science and fiction, together the Pottingers are helping the world get through the pandemic. Tammy Mutasa, Como News.
What a great story. Well, they say everything's bigger in Texas, and that now includes the power outage from a winter storm and a cold snap. Taking a live look now at Fort Worth, Texas tonight, where more than 2 million people have been without electricity for several days. That's a quarter of the state. The lack of electricity has also left water treatment centers powerless. So 1 million Texans are now under a water boil notice tonight. And with more cold weather moving in, it's not clear when the power will be back on. Kval's chief meteorologist Josh Cozart is joining us now in the Weather Center to break down this latest blast of winter weather. Josh?
And Dane, the good news is, at least with the state of Texas, we are starting to see some improvements, but still some counties under a winter storm warning that's going to be lasting at least for the next few hours. Thursday is when it will be set to expire. And of course, that stretches all the way just from the east side of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex all the way up to the state of New Jersey. Down towards the southeast, that's where we are also watching flash flood watches for the next several hours. As for those Texas temperatures, though, very unseasonal. 9 degrees in Lubbock, 30 in San Antonio, Houston at the freezing mark right now, and they should be experiencing 70+ degree weather this time of year. Snow continues to fall through the Midwest and now into parts of the southeast, and the deep south, as freezing rain is a potential for parts of Mississippi and moving into Georgia, as the severe weather threat also starts to ramp up for tonight into tomorrow for parts of Florida and the southern sections of Georgia. We'll have a closer look at when the rain chances return to western Oregon coming up here in my full forecast.
Hey, Josh. We turn now to a major development in a story that's been getting a lot of attention here in the Pacific Northwest. Portland police confirming late tonight a dive team found a vehicle and a body in the Columbia River just days after a driver slid off the bridge during that snow and ice storm. Kval's Catherine Kissel reports tonight.
This is new video tonight. Boats searching the Columbia for a car that went off the 205 bridge Sunday. Just hours ago, Multnomah County deputies confirming its dive team found a vehicle with a body inside. The family of Antonio Lopez believes he was behind the wheel that night. They say his vehicle matches the description of the one witnesses saw going over the side of the bridge, and he would have been traveling home from his job in Vancouver at the time. Investigators think weather-related road conditions were a factor in the crash. And while we wait for an autopsy from the ME's office, Lopez's family wonders if this tragedy could have been prevented. We talked to ODOT earlier tonight, asking them that very question.
I do know our crews are doing everything they can to make the roads safe. I do know they are out there 24/7, got every single tool in the toolbox thrown at it. so that, ultimately we can make the roads passable and as safe as possible for folks.
That was Catherine Kissel reporting tonight. And ODOT says they'll be looking into how they clear the roads in the future. Well, the outlook is better, but there are still thousands of Oregonians without power tonight. Portland General Electric reports more than 100,000 customers in the dark in Marion, Multnomah, and Clackamas counties. And we're also learning tonight that those widespread outages are now impacting people's abilities to get unemployment benefits. The Oregon Employment Department says their Oregon City and Woodburn offices have closed now because of storm damage. They also say they're aware of many of the issues that people are facing.
We know that many Oregonians may not have access to internet as a result of the winter storm and won't be able to file their weekly claims online.
If you or a loved one fall into that category, the department is asking you to file using their automated phone line. That number right there on your screen. They're also preparing additional financial assistance if a presidential disaster declaration is announced. Coming up on Kval News at 11, students all around the country are slowly heading back to some form of in-person learning, but they're missing an important resource. We'll explain. Plus, after a crane and operator fell through a retaining wall on Highway 101, a portion of that road now closed. We'll tell you where. And a not so great harvest season in California. We'll tell you the culprit.